now. And secondly, my second point is in we Liberians. We all compare how the country is, how people are making more thousands of dollars, enriching themselves, and we are poor and suffering. Yet, when it comes to being used, we agree to be used. How? How? How should that even happen? How serious things happen in the country that needs our attention, we should not concern. But because people in our house fighting for power, the whole country things upside down, it's not fair to us, honestly. So honestly, that's the national police will be blamed for this.
Okay, Johnny, thank you. We'll take the lines, but now let's focus over there a little bit. I'm not opening any lines again. You know, I got up because she was over and over. Oh, Liberia, this sweet country. What's going on here? When will we learn, my people? Hey, when will we really learn? We fought war here. We're still trying to crawl on our knees. We don't even have electricity restored yet to the country after several years. The war affected us. Haven't we learned something? I think the LPRC fire truck will have to move in. Amos Tower, where are you? The LPRC fire truck will have to move in. At this point, we are calling on all the fire trucks to move in. This is totally shameful, you know. What's happening? Anyway, fire service will have to investigate the source of the fire. What went wrong? I'm told LPRC fire truck was the first to arrive. Thank you. So all of the fire trucks around, you got to move in. The fire is still blazing. I understand Seti brother is providing a fire truck. Seti brother is providing a fire truck. The Seti brother fire truck is moving in. That's a good one. Thanks to Seti brothers. All other fire trucks, man, you gotta move in over there. Let's help to get the fire off first before we start talking the other issue. Our concern now should be to get that fire off. Thanks to Seti brothers. sweet Liberia, the land of our nativity, our heritage and our pride, our glorious land of liberty, the country we're supposed to love beyond everything. What's going on with us as a people, my people? We'll rejoin our reporters very shortly. We are staying at the Capitol. We're supposed to have a panel discussion here at 8 o'clock, but it will affect the panel discussion because we have to focus on that Capitol building situation up to the end of the fire this morning. This is the OK Morning Rock. It's on 99.5. Our attention is all on the Capitol building this morning. Huge fire. It's 10 minutes up to 8 o'clock this morning. Oh, Liberia. What's going on? The Capitol building is blazing. Well, John Chokon will put very shortly to see whether they're making any progress there as far as quenching the fire is concerned. To be together, living warm, black, white, red, blue, brown, yellow. So we don't want the trouble. We don't want the palava. We don't want the trouble. We don't want the palava. Yeah. Let's come together when we're together. Traveling, we solve our problem, mama. Discrimination, we solve our problem, mama. We don't want no holla, holla. We don't want no confusion. We don't want no holla, holla. We don't want no confusion. Only hope that we see Liberia. Love is all we need to make it stand. And to celebrate and have a peaceful home. Sweet Liberia, the land of liberty is our own. Let us keep it standing. It's the one and only hope that we have. Sweet Liberia. Okay, we leave studio. Let's read John Chokon. Well, Chokon, any update as far as progress is concerned?
Clarence, let's first of all say thank you to the presence, thanks to the Liberia National Fire Service and that of the Water and Sewer Corporation. It's true, I said the fire has gone down, not really, but they are trying their best. So Clarence, I've changed position to have a fair appreciation of what is happening. So the side of the mansion that is facing the executive, the side of the Capitol building that is facing the executive mansion, I mean, the fire has calmed down a bit, but the side that is facing the Capitol bypass is where the blaze is right now. As we speak, the second fire truck is making its way into the Capitol building by the way of the Capitol bypass to beef up the strength of the water truck that's here and the fire service. But the back, of the side of the Capitol building that is facing directly Capitol bypass is still having huge blaze. The part that is facing the executive mansion, they've managed to calm down the situation of the fire, though there's still small fire, but not as compared to what it was before. But the side of the building that is facing Capitol bypass is still at place, Clarence, and the trucks are making their way there to ensure huge quantities of water move in there to calm the entire fire.
Okay, it means that at least we are making some progress now.
Definitely, we are making some progress, but it's still too far to say it's going to finish anytime soon.
Okay, Chokon Wepo is still sticking around there this morning. Let me see what we will be having a final discussion. We should have had. We wanted to do 2 solid hour final discussion this morning, looking at President Joseph Boakai first year in office, bringing Abdoulaye Kyatama, Jacob Jala, and Wanto T. Wanto, our panelists we brought the other day. Yes, they will still come. We will still have to talk about it. They will still come. We will be looking at President Boakai 1 year in office with all these things, except that are designed, particular or specific talking points. We'll focus on the economy. We'll focus on other issues. They're coming. We'll talk about it now that the fire situation over there is going down. Chokon Wepu is reporting that the side of the joint chambers that is facing the executive mansion is a little bit okay, but the fire has spread. So the fire trucks are taking the back path from the Capitol back path over there to see as to whether they can do what they started already. The police have taken a lot of people, including the security people assigned at the Capitol building. I am sure for initial questioning to establish what went wrong. I'm sure the fire service will have to move into to do their own investigation to tell us as to whether it was as a result of electrical shock or as to whether somebody set ablaze the place or whatever. At this point, sometimes let's calm down with the blame shifting. Let's calm down with being judgmental. Let's calm down with accusing people. I am sure if some of the security people got first-hand information, maybe they saw a strange person in the building overnight, but I don't know whether the fire started this morning. I wasn't there. I am careful with my words, but we are focusing there. When our panelists get here, yes, we'll usher them in, and then we'll begin our discussion. But at the same time, we will still be listening in the event Chokon Wepu calls us. We'll pick up the telephone call to see what the issues are. But until that time, I'm just playing this music so that we retrospect a little bit as a nation and people. No matter what, violence should not be our resort. No. No matter what. Look, that's why I say I always appreciate people when they go to court. And when people go to court, people say the person going to, it's better for us to go to court for the law to take its course than for us to resort to any violence anywhere. Without knowing the cause of the fire, we're calling for calm. Let's keep this country peaceful and stable, and then the other things will follow. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll still have our panel discussion. 1 to 3, 1 2 will be here. Jacob Jala will be here. And of course, Abdullah Katamba will be here. Yeah, whenever we have serious report from our reporters from the capital, yes, we'll take it. We will take it. But the panel discussion will go on. The guys are coming to do their own assessment of the Boakai regime. First year in office. We are expecting our panelists.
Let's come together and work together. We solve our problem, mama. Discrimination, we solve our problem, mama. Let's come together and work together, mama. We don't want no holla, holla. We don't want no confusion. We don't want no holla, holla. We don't want no confusion, yeah.
So there will actually be 4. Last minute to time, I managed to get Amos Williams, former flight president, will also be here. So there will be a team of 4 panelists. Amos Williams, Abdullah Katamba, Jacob Jala, and 1 to Tier 1 to. We're expecting them to be here, but now we plan to go 8 to 10, straight solid 2 hours.
Dr. Larry Brooklyn sends me a text. He said, Clarence, what's happening to our mindset? What kind of people are we? Let me talk to police spokesperson Cecilia Glickly-Clark. Probably she want to pass something. Cecilia, good morning. Cecilia, are you there? Okay.
We don't want the trouble. We don't want the fire. We don't want the trouble. We don't want the fire. Yeah. Let's come together and work together, baby. Trouble is skin, we solve our problem, mama. Discrimination, we solve our problem, mama. We don't want no holla, holla. We don't want no confusion. We don't want no holla, holla. We don't want no confusion, yeah. Let's celebrate and have a good time, brother. Let's celebrate and have a good time, sister. Let's join hands and sing together, baby. So, oh, sweet Liberia, let us liberty. Oh, sweet Liberia, let us freedom.
Okay, our panelists are on their way. They will be here shortly, and then we can start the discussion. If we get report from our reporters, yes, we'll squeeze them in because it's important. Let's keep the calm. I am sure you can go about your normal businesses. The fire service is there. LPRC Central, Water and Sewer is there. Seti Brella is sending another truck. I'm sure they can get the fire off. And then I know the police will start a series of investigation to get to the bottom of it. Whether it is electrical or whatever. Let's stop accusing people. Let investigation go on. Let's cut the fire off first. We're trying to set up the studio. Our panelists will set in soon. We will continue next week. I would like to pull 4 persons from the diaspora. 4 persons from the diaspora. We'll pull them, then we'll do one. Let's continue. But go about your normal businesses. The fire is being stopped. The people are there to put the fire off, to put the fire off, to put the fire off. The fire will go up, no matter the severity of the fire. If we have to move there with water buckets in our hands, that is our Capitol building. That is the seat of our first branch of the government. We have to put the fire off. And I'm urging all of us, I'm advising all of us to stop accusing people and shifting blames. Only investigation can establish whatever the situation is. Yes, that's the most civilized thing to do.
It's the one and only one that we have. Sweet Liberia, land of liberty is our home. Let us keep it standing. It's the one and only home that we have.
Jacob Jala is already here. We are waiting the others. By the time we have 2, yes, we can start. Because we want our people to benefit the discussion.
Love is all we need to make it stand. Let's celebrate and have a peaceful home.
Let's be civil. Civility matters in everything we do. Stop accusing anybody. The security will investigate. All of us, we don't know what happened. We don't know the source of the fire. Go about your normal businesses. Go to school. Go to the hospitals. Go to the markets. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Liberian health sector this morning, but the fire incident just drove away everything. So we'll come back tomorrow. But I'm saying at this point, let's be peaceful. Let's stop pointing fingers. Let's stop shifting blame. If you have any lead to the fire situation, it's better you inform the security people.
So let us all celebrate a peaceful election for unity and prosperity. Yeah! Ooh la la!
The passport director is announcing that the passport section will be closed immediately today, at least to observe for the safety of people coming to get their passport until they can observe the situation up Capitol Hill. Okay, two of our panelists are here, Tier 1, 2, and Jacob Jala. He dresses in white, you know. Yeah, we'll start very shortly. They are here. We are expecting the other two. The guys from the diasporas are angry. They said, Clarence, you need to include us. Jacob Jala, football boss, a loss. You can't continue to bring him. Okay, let's go back to Chokon Wepo. When we come back, then we can start the panel discussion. Chokon, good morning. Any update?
Good morning, Clarence. Good morning, Clarence. So, I can save the report now that with the help of the 4 different trucks, 2 from the LNSS, the National Fire Service, and the LWSC, the Water and Sewer Corporation, this fire is not totally off yet because we've not made a report, but we can safely say it has come, to an appreciable level. So where we were seeing the blaze and the thick smoke, there is no blaze, there is no thick smoke now. It only remains for the officers of the fire service and people responsible to go and do due diligence by reviewing the building, the inside of the building, to see if the fire has not transferred to other offices. But as it is right now, Clarence, there is no longer any thick smoke coming up. We are not seeing any semblance of fire again. But also, we cannot equal the report that it has come totally because we have not been inside of the building. But the joint chamber where the majority number half the section is completely damaged. There where the fire was. That's the top of the rotunda. So we can save the report that, Clarence.
Thank you, Chokon, for the wonderful job you've been doing this morning, leaving your comfort here in your office to move in as far as report is concerned. Thank you so much, Chokon. Our news editor here, Chokon Wepu, I had to pull him over this morning to say, look, the reporters are coming, but you have to move in. So we can now save the situation at the Capitol building with the fire. Sufficient efforts are being made, and at least to some extent, the guys are making progress now, whatever the situation is. So, I am saying, let's stop shifting blame. Let's stop accusing people and pointing accusing fingers. I am sure our state security people have got the capacity to investigate and establish what went wrong. The Liberian Water and Sewer Corporation will do theirs. The police will do theirs. And the other people will do theirs to establish whatever went wrong. Go about your normal businesses. Let's keep the city quiet. 2 of our panelists are here today. I have designed a lot of topics, but we will focus on the 4, but we include the fire situation too, because I want to get their perspectives. Now, and I will attach time to each of them talking, because remember, I don't want somebody to say, oh, Clarence, yeah, open the thing, the men were talking. So this morning we'll focus on sectors. We'll focus on governance and the rule of law. You know, governance and the rule of law. We'll focus on governance and the rule of law. We'll look at presidential action, legislative functioning, key judicial action, Supreme Court, democratic governance, peaceful transfer of power, political party relations, freedom of speech, fight against corruption, reconciliation, and war crimes code. Under economic management, we look at fiscal management, budget, managing the public finance, government investment, job, private sector. We look at salary and incentives, and we look at commodity prices and petroleum and all these things. And then I hope we have the time. 2 hours, 4 persons may not be sufficient, but we will try. Gentlemen, I'd like to say good morning to the first two who are here. We can start our conversation until the others come. The guy in the red t-shirt will just introduce yourself for the benefit of our viewers. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning again, Clarence. My name is Jacob. Jacob Jala is my full name. I'm glad to be on your show again this morning and to share my perspective on the issues that are popular. We're reaching the end of the year now. So, yes, I'm glad to be here today. I'm happy to grant your invitation to share my perspective.
Thank you, Jacob, for always accepting our invite. Let's hear the man in white.
Yeah, I mean, like Jacob, I'm also very excited for this conversation. And Clarence, thank you for not just inviting me, but putting this together. I think this is critical. We believe that our disagreement should always be solved through political discourse, through the clash of ideas, through policy prescription, and it should never resort to violence. And today, I want to echo my voice out to a lot of Liberians who are very, very much, concerned about the situation at the capital. We call for immediate investigation. Like you said, we should not point fingers at anyone. Let's allow investigation play out. At this point in time, let's remember how far we've come as a country. We celebrated 20 years of peace during our electoral process. That is 2 decades of sustained peace. 250,000 plus people die in this country because of our civil conflict, and no political candidate, no political party is worth taking us to the dark days. And I think I just wanted to send this message out before we can be able to go through our conversation.
Okay, Jacob, you wanted to say something too?
Oh yes, absolutely. We've seen a growing pattern of violence. I mean, yesterday was another one you didn't point out. Yeah,
we're coming down.
Yeah, we had ugly scenes yesterday. Again, you said we'll go into that.
Yeah.
So I'll keep
Okay,
my
Jacob. Okay.
point.
Okay, so Abdullah Kyatamat says he apologized. He will be a little bit late. Probably 5-10 minutes from now, he will be here. But we're expecting former flag president Amos Williams will be here very shortly. Wanto, yesterday was a scene in Monrovia. Before we come to the main issues, yesterday was a scene in Monrovia. There are different accounts. In fact, this morning I wanted to invite our reporter who covered the scenes yesterday, but the whole fire situation diverted our discussion. There was a protest yesterday. Some say it was peaceful. Some say it wasn't peaceful. Some say the police fired tear gas and live bullet. The police said, no, we fired tear gas. We didn't fire live bullet. Yesterday, I talked to you about the protest. Talk to us about the situation yesterday from your perspective.
So again, like I spoke to you in the morning, the protest was conglomeration of Liberians from different political parties, young people who were standing up for democracy, older folks as well. I think you saw the councillor, one of the framework of our constitution, was there. So it was a diverse group. It was a very, very, very much peaceful protest in terms of the planning process and how it was set up to be. Everyone wore white as a justification of peace. But what is most important for us to be able to do, and again, there's no shifting blame in this, is we must allow our society to accept peaceful dissent. Because there will always be disagreement. I don't think social justice is a threat to our democracy. I think social action is a civic responsibility to show that government should be accountable for certain causes. Before that protest, we hosted a protest at LTA, calling out the Liberia Telecommunication to immediately restitute the policy that increased the hacking of the data price in our country. We went peacefully as possible to LTA, and we achieved our agenda. There was immediate restitution in terms of the promotional prices that came about, making data affordable. The LTA commissioner promised to, liaise with all to, in 3 days so that they can be able to, reverse the policy in totality. So I think there are positive aspects of dissent, and I don't want us to be able to think it's different. I think going back, we definitely, I want to use this public platform to call on the Liberia National Police to immediately, release peaceful protesters who were arrested, almost 75 of them. I don't think they sent a good signal to this government. These people went out to stand up for what is right and what they believe. We all will not agree, but we should respect peaceful dissent.
Do you have any evidence or have you heard about anything as to whether live bullets were fired and as to whether somebody was shot in the leg?
No, from all indication, I have seen no evidence of anyone being shot in the legs. I've seen no evidence of live bullet being fired at. I think tear gas was used unwarrantedly. I think there was force also from both ends, and I believe in some way possible professionalism should have been exhibited at that point, and the police should have respected peaceful dissent, especially given the fact that they had, a specific cause of being there at that point in time.
Did you guys present your petition yesterday?
You can,
because that was the core.
That was the core, yeah. And it was dispersed. There was no petition that was presented because of the disbursement of the crowd, and the police to some extent explained why they did that. But again, I respect law enforcement agency, but I think also there has to be better mediation process in cases as such, because the intended purpose of that march was definitely to send a peaceful dissent, specifically in terms of protecting our democracy and ensuring that the people of this country respect the rule of law as well. And that was the agenda. And our diverse group, it had no political undertoning. It wasn't a specific political party. There were people who were apolitical that were there. There was the original framework of the Constitution, Councillor Boo, was part of that protest, and she said definitely this was a peaceful. She had an account with OKFM and said this was a peaceful walkout, and that's my own perception.
Okay, Chico, let's hear your perspective.
What was the protest about again?
Let him tell you. I mean, he's one of the organizers. Yeah. Want to tell him? The man is asking.
The protest yesterday was a march on the Capitol to specifically petition both the Senate and the legitimate speaker that specifically concerned over the division at the Capitol and calling on an immediate resolution. That was the objective of it. We were framing a way.
Your protest.
Just pull your mark. Let me get your perspective. Are you okay? I'm not sure you're signing the way you're supposed to sign.
Oh, I'm not worried.
You want to put it up to you?
Okay, like this.
All right, Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just figuring it out whether we needed the kind of whether we needed a protest to call for the resolution of the conflict at the legislature. I'm just wondering because what we saw ugly images yesterday, quite frankly, and we saw disruption in people's lives. Now, I will be the last person to say here that people don't have the right to establish or to state their disquiet over matters of public policy. People have the right to assemble. It is fundamentally guaranteed under the Constitution. And for me, as a Democrat, I will do everything and nothing to undermine democratic value. But I'm just looking at the rationale behind the assembly and to really figure out whether these things are not politically or partisanly, if I can put it in a certain awkward driven. And then therefore you see, all sorts of outcomes coming out of this thing. We have to be very careful as a society. This is a country that have suffered for too long. I'm always in favor of people coming together to state their views, their perspective, even if it's on peaceful assembly, on issues that really matter. Now, I'm not passing any criticism on those who turn out to say, well, the issues don't matter or not. That's not my cup of tea, but I'm just saying, if we will go and throw bodies on the line, like we did yesterday, and we're seeing people getting injured and people getting hurt, what is the basis of that? What is the legitimacy? What is the value and the weight of the effort we're making? You know what I mean? If this is an attempt to resolve issues amicably, through discussion, through resolution, if that is within the realm of possibility, why don't we explore that rather than taking a dangerous role, putting bodies on the line and putting peaceful citizens at risk? So I'm just trying to rationalize the matter and apply deep thought to it and see whether this was a viable decision to take, or whether, if people mean what they mean, whether these matters could have been resolved in other peaceful means, rather than seeing the ugly images that we were greeted with yesterday and the disruption that we also faced.
Okay. Jacobs Jala, our two panelists. The other two, we are expecting conversation moving on. Now, let's go to our sector issue now. I have set up this thing in a way that we will have a focus. I don't think we will absorb everything, but we will endeavor to do that. Now, Jacob, let's begin with you. President Boakai was inaugurated in January of last year. Let's look at the president, the government's 1 year performance. Let's talk about governance and rule of law. It is so broad, but I try as much as possible to narrow it down. On governance and the rule of law, we look, and all of you have the slides already. We are looking at presidential actions, legislative functioning, key judicial actions, the Supreme Court, democratic governance. We're looking at peaceful transfer of power, political party relations, freedom of speech, fight against corruption, reconciliation, and war crimes. Jacob, let's take your first 5 minutes to talk about these things. We'll come back to you, then we'll go back to what do you think? Governance and the rule of law.
So I will just pick and choose.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. But you got 6 minutes. Let me say 6. 6 minutes.
Sure. Cut me off when you're on time. So I think I will talk about maybe presidential action, since that is and maybe a couple more, since that is the heartbeat of our democratic structure. So I think there were a number of laudable steps, great steps. The president, I think, got off to a flying start. I must admit to that. I think it was a strong start. There were also this and that delay, maybe in the building and the structuring of the cabinet, but sooner rather than later he got off going. The government was set up, and then I think the cabinet, from my perspective, technically, professionally speaking, I think he recruited the right character in many areas to try to drive national development moving forward. The one at the Ministry of Finance was a very sticky one. I think Mr. Kamara didn't really get going, I think, because of health matters and all of that. But largely, broadly speaking, I think it was a coming together, a conglomeration of Liberian professionals from across sectors who very much, I think, had the capacity and the technical understanding to drive ministries and agencies forward. So I think Boakai got that spot on. I also saw quite lately, I think, the coming together of members of the cabinet to sign a performance contract. I think that's also a good organizational and leadership decision, because, of course, if you bring people to the public sector, they have to be held accountable to performance indicators. As President of the Republic, you need absolute clarity in terms of what you expect from your officials, maybe across economic governance, whether you're talking about across public entities that are delivering services, building economic infrastructure, and also making sure that we can move the country towards the trajectory, of economic development. So yes, that looks like a good one, because you're able to pinpoint specific performance issues to say, okay, Mr. X, if you're into investment, we want these, we want this and that movement in terms of what we need to do to bring companies, to bring businesses, to expand jobs, to expand economic opportunity for people. So, getting a cabinet together, designing a performance contract or performance benchmark to hold public officials accountable, I think that was great presidential action. We had a little bit of fuzzy in terms of political party relations. Yes, I think the CDC the ANC, other political parties, the UP, I think they've been able to coexist quite moderately, I would say, because of course the CDC have got raised a lot of issue with the period in terms of how the president and the government was taking action in removing tenured officials. I think that's a governance issue that has to be tackled. And I think there has not been a full resolution on that matter. And I also think that that was one of the weak spots of the government over the period when it comes to presidential action. I thought that the situation at NASCAR, wasn't quite effectively handled. We have the situation of the LTA. We saw men with lethal weapons taking officials of LTA to take office. That looked very ugly. I don't think that bode well for the government. And so the whole tenure official thing was very fuzzy, was very problematic. I don't believe the executive handled it quite well. I don't know whether those actions were a blowback effect from the exuberance of the elections, and then the urgency from the president to get his people into office. But I don't think that worked out quite well. Probably he should have set up a committee, a policy group, or a legal group to review some of these tenure positions so that we have a very smooth and amicable process towards people going to these offices. I think for me that was a profound blind spot in terms of how the president dealt with some of the issues around governance over the period. Fight against corruption. I know if you try, the situation with the finance minister and other officials that have been indicted by the government, I don't think these actions have gotten up to a really great start. We've seen profound levels of delay, here and there, delay tactics. I don't know whether these are just, legal moves here and there to delay the process or whether that's part of the legal process. But I don't think the public have been greeted with any kind of progress along those lines. We will let these things to be expedited, this trial, so that, lawyers from both sides can go into the nitty-gritty of the matter. And then we have evidence adduced, and then these cases are adjudicated in the final night. So I think
okay, Jala, we'll hold you there for your 6 minutes, and we'll go to 1, 2. Let's hear from you on our first pillar here, governance and rule of law. Yes, you can pinpoint, but I will still come back there because I want to be specific on 2 key issues in there, and then we can move on to the next thing. 6 minutes.
Sure. Thank you again. There are a couple of things I want to highlight. Let's start from the inauguration process.
Okay.
President Barker, in his inaugural address, he said this, and I have this quote specifically. He said the presidential election was hard fought and looked to have further divided our country politically and regionally, but what unites us is bigger than what divides us. I'm therefore extending a hand of cooperation and peace to my political opponents. What we see in this statement is, complete, is in a way that the president speaks and does something differently, contradict the very principles that he preaches and believe in. Over time, we're saying that this electoral process was extremely heated and divided. The president has failed massively in leading reconciliation effort. And this is very sad because a divided country has the propensity to lead us to chaos. Few time ago, I wrote an op-ed on the Security Council launch. And I said, President Weah said, when President Weah was asked to be at the Security Council launch, and you and I was in New York at the launch, he basically said that, the current situation domestically does not, transition to our desire for the Security Council. Geopolitically, the idea of having over 500 dismissed, about 500 dismissed EPS officers because of partisan concern. 9 persons from the Mora City Corporation were directly recommended to be fired from office because, to some extent, the civil service said their actions on social media did not correspond with how they intend for them to practice ethics or so forth. And we're seeing numerous cases of people who complain of being dismissed because of their opinions, political affiliation. And this is very sad for our country. I think nobody in our country should face loss of job because of their political affiliation. So I think the president has a pathway to lead. Yesterday, the president posted, while we have the current saga in the House, the executive mansion posted calling Speaker Richard Kuhn Speaker of the House. This is very, very, very uncertain because the current situation in the House have not been resolved in any way possible because there are ongoing cases. Even the ruling from the Supreme Court did not recognize Speaker Kong. No way possible. This has to stop. The president must lead reconciliation effort, just as he said in his inaugural address. Our country have to be reconciled. Our country have to be unified, and we have to be at one. The other aspect that is also very important in terms of governance, I don't think the threshold of our governance have seen anything. So if you check the NAMBO report, NAMBO said that of the 6 counts on governance delivery, 0 have been achieved. In fact, NAMBO provided a very, very troubling result on the president landmark, in showing that I think 8% in the space of 8 months, which is extremely terrible for governance in our country. What is also important in when it comes to governance is the level of partisan decision in different areas. The case of I think Jacob spoke about tenure cases. It's very true. The central bank governor was, individually, unilaterally taken out of office without following due process in our country. No respect for rule of law. He was removed. Even his successor did not go through the proceedings that spared our constitutional executive nomination process. The suppression of free speech. I spoke of the Ministry of the Brother City Cooperation incident, and people still today are being suppressed of free speech. Yesterday at the Capitol, we highlighted the idea that we must embrace peaceful dissent. We can't have peaceful dissent or protesters being brutalized because they are standing for their opinions or they are standing to disagree on policy or on governance. What is also important is what kind of ideals are we looking for in our country? What is our perception of governance? What is the Unity Party viewpoint of governance? Reconciliation have been terrible. Governance accountability process is also very concerning because according to our constitution, we have a balance of power. The current situation at the Capitol where you have the budget being, reviewed by partisan lawmakers in our country without ideas of accountability process is very concerning, Clarence. There's no way possible you have a budget ongoing by partisans lawmakers who just believe with the president. Before this situation in the Capitol, there have been individual dissent on the budget. Honor cover, there were extensive, changes on our budget to fit the context of the president agenda, which is very wrong and does not fit in the accountability process. Few days ago, the United States Department report and were concerning that accountability and independent governance have not reached a threshold, but which was just few days ago, United States Department report. I think in every dimension possible, this situation called us to think about what kind of governance and accountability we have in our country. How do we envision our country to lead this kind of effort? I think in every way possible, beyond just the idea of governance, also there's a troubling pattern of mismanagement and accountability on how governance delivery is being done. The issue of the yellow machine in this country. There have been no actions on how the yellow machine saga came about. When the House wrote the president said that his friend provided that information to issue a gentleman agreement. Up to now, there's no clarity on the yellow machine. What is interesting is that in the budget, there's a specific part of the budget that have budgeted for yellow machines in this country where we haven't seen any clarity or accountability process on previous negotiation. There were parades in this country of the Minister of State who was parading. I think the Minister of State and you guys know, paraded saying that there'll be yellow machines for people all across the rural places in Liberia. That did not materialize. No clarity. The president said his friend will have no clue who that friend is in our country currently.
Okay, Wanto, we'll hold you there, please. The time is over. But let's take this 4 minutes. I'm starting from you, and then we'll go to Jacob. Particularly 2 issues stay on our pillow that has to do with governance and the rule of law. What's your perspective about President Boakai fight against corruption over the period of the year in review and the War and Economic Crimes Code, the executive order that established the Office of the War and Economic Crimes Code, and the president's fight against corruption? What's your perspective? 4 minutes, Wanto.
Great. I want to, there's a very good question as well. I think when it comes to corruption in our country, again, another very important promise that was made. The Unity Party plays an entire pillar in their rescue mission that has to do with accountability of, campaign on corruption and ensuring that there is fair and balanced process of delivery, government delivery outcome. What is interesting is that this entire promise have not been materialized. I'll provide a couple of high-profile cases. At the Liberia Refugee, agency, a specific agency, a few days ago, we saw that the president committed to bringing Liberians from Buduburan camp. That agency was charged specifically with the responsibility of being able to ensure that they settle in our country. What is fascinating to note is that almost 1.5 million or more was, fraudulently used and accounted for without any justification. And today, the Liberal Anti-Corruption is currently investigating that case under the same government. In fact, there were about almost 1,000 plus 1,500 people who came from the Buduburan camp, and there were over 7,000 plus receipts that did not even justify the outcome of that funding. We're seeing Maytech in our country. The Minister of Labor, the former Minister of Labor, was caught definitely in a conflict of interest, specifically in his role as a Minister of Labor. That also does not show that accountability process. The Minister of State also is caught on a similar scenario as well. All through this government currently, we're seeing the pattern of corruption that have seen no accountability. In fact, even people who supported this government, disagree on how the government have been very, very much lukewarm on ensuring that there is fair accountability process of corruption. Corruption in our country currently fight is also partial. Up to this state, we have the current saga in the legislature, and the executive have been directly implicated into that saga because, from our point of view, the legitimate speaker was leading a call for accountability process and audit in the horse, which is a fair and balanced process of a country. The government said that they are instituting economic crimes. What we're seeing over time is that the government adheres in pattern of institutional engagement, disagree with the desire for economic accountability in our country. I'm still yet to see how corruption will be an independent fight in our country. I'm still yet to see how corruption will be a presidential fight. That we can be able to holistic point out and say, yes, the president clamped down on corruption. These are evidence. What we're saying is that officials who are culprit of corruption under this government are being given leeway to either resign or, to some extent, extensive evidence of their corruption in Liberia. And this is wrong, and I think we have to do more. The first year of the president's objective on independently ensuring that corruption becomes a public enemy have you no result. And there has to be more done to be able to ensure that there is public trust, especially in terms of thousands of Liberians who voted this government because they assumed that this government were going to lead their fight for accountability process.
War Crimes Code, quickly, you got
and then
you almost over time.
I do applaud the War Crime Code. 100% think that it's a critical part of our governance process. My concern here is that, and I've argued this over time, what we're seeing in Liberia is that the country have now resuscitated to a place where young people have opportunities, where poverty has become completely eradicated, or to some extent, faith in a context where people can be able to live and earn. Our society and economy have not thrived to a place of providing independence opportunity. Innovation is not there. Unemployment is currently around almost 96%. The fight against War Crime Code may not fit in the context of the current reality. And I support the War Crime Code in all dimensions. And I appreciate the president for leading that effort. And I appreciate the embattled speaker in the current House, or also in the Senate, for joining that effort as well. I think it's a critical part. But all of the documentation in the Bill of Law is very oblivious to how you achieve the War Crime Code, because most of the legal, currently the geopolitical process of the War Crime Code also does not fit the context. The RCC currently is under threat. The legitimacy of the RCC have been questioned. Countries around the world are playing geopolitical hegemony in making decisions that fit the context of their national interest rather than a desire for rule-based framework. Nationally and internationally, there have been arguments on international law on a specific rule-based framework, because other countries believe that most of the duties and effects of the War Crime Code have been based on Western perception of what human rights justice should be like.
Okay, so we'll hold you there. I had to even extend it to 8 minutes because of that. Because you were no, it's okay. You were leaving out the War Crimes Code. Jake, War Crimes Code and President Bouaka fight against corruption in the first year of his administration. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about corruption, corruption is what I've been bending around quite profoundly for decades, in this country. and whether we're I mean, in terms of approval, whether there's clarity of direction in terms of how we deal with the matter of public integrity, is another question, and what do we want to do on the question of improving or safeguarding public integrity, lack of corruption in our public institutions. Either we continue the path of firefighting and say, okay, 1, 2, 3 things have happened, we have to get people prosecuted, but that's on the other side of the matter, in terms of trying to deal with the symptom. That's a profoundly symptomatic approach. But the real matter lie under the belly of the issue in terms of, what are the institutions of accountability? Our system of delivery efficient enough to prevent dishonesty or public theft? Do we have the right technology in terms of the way we do even business? I mean, we talk about the Ministry of Finance. We talk about collecting taxes and revenue. We talk about expanding public resources and the infrastructure and the system that work around that. If the system is designed in a way that is porous, that provide room for tampering with public resources, then you're tempting people, and therefore the system of accountability faces enormous headwind in that sense. It can't stand on its own feet because there are profound leakages across the system of delivery. So for me, corruption is not only like arresting people, going through the court process and all of that. That's on the back end of things. But in terms of really preventing, building institutions in a way that prevent even the occurrences of corruption. And if you look at, for example, the United States and even other jurisdictions that have done great work in terms of safeguarding public resources, most of their investment is on the other side of things. It's on prevention, building system, building infrastructure. I think we've abandoned that and hoping that we can find success on the level of prosecution. I think that's a very short-sighted approach as a country, and that's the Liberia problem there. We really don't want to solve this problem. We want to kind of paper over the cracks and pretend that we want to solve the issues when we really should be investing in systems and institutions and ensuring that we prevent incidents of corruption in the first place. I would say that for the start, and then move forward to say that yes, we've seen cases here and there about what government needs to do. I mean, one clear case I referenced in my opening line, I also emphasize that would be the cases that have gone to court so far, and how government is behaving in terms of prosecuting those matters. We want to see the end to those trials, and we expect the government to move quite speedily on that on those issues so that we get to the veracity of the matter and know what actually transpired. If these public officials are not guilty and they've not been found in terms of betraying the public trust.
Toy and Jefferson Campbell, all these people.
All these cases.
Okay.
I think we have heard statement coming from Mr. Toy lawyer, Arthur Johnson, about the government dilly-dallying on the matter and getting into all kinds of delay tactic around it. I don't want to go into that matter. I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to play with fire, but I know that this thing has to move forward very, very quickly so that we can arrive at a conclusion on those issues. So, yeah, the LSCC, for example, yes, the LSCC have shown some muscles in terms of what they want to do. I think I'm sensing a degree of independence, and I think the LSCC have woken up. If being an organization that have been lingering in dark for a long time, and they've been showing some muscles here and there, running investigations. But we have to see really, actions going to court. But I also want to see real effort. I'll go back to my initial point in terms of the government and our institution really dealing with these issues on a systematic level rather than trying to go and do firefighting at the end.
War Crimes Court?
War Crimes Court is another one. We've talked about that. But I think the issue of a war crime code when it comes to the Liberian discourse has been used as a political football for a long time in terms of, different political parties, when it's campaign time, try to use that to give themselves electoral advantage. We will prosecute people if they think it's a convenient thing to say so that they can move their statistical advantages upward and try to get more votes. But have we as a country, outside of political point scoring, have we as a country sat down to say, okay, this is a clear direction of travel on this matter? Because of course we have the issue of a war crimes code, but the question is, what are we trying to achieve with a war crime code? Because the United Party is guilty of that also. Mr. Bwaka went across the country, the UP went across the country and talked about the issue of war crime code when the UP thought it was convenient and it was a vote winning machine for them. If they toe this line, then they get vote and then they can get an electoral advantage over Mr. Weah, who they thought didn't move fast on the war crime code. Even the CDC themselves, parroted the point of a war crime code, but when push came to shove, they collapsed under their own promises on dealing with the war crime code. So I see different political about what the CDC played with it on the matter. The Unity Party played with the matter. It may be a hot potato issue, and this party have not been able to move on it. Now, Mr. Bwaka tried to show some character, tried to show some courage to move on the war crimes code matter. I mean, the first appointment didn't work out. We see a new appointment, I think, with Councillor Jala. So where are we going with this on this matter? Prosecution, we can do that, but I don't see where are we going with this so far, rather than just setting up an institution and then we have not seen any clearly lay our strategy. What is the plan? How are we going to deal with this matter? What are the security implications? Is the executive serious about really moving this forward? We don't know. So I don't want to think this is anything remarkable yet. Just by setting an institution, we want to see the ball do the talking.
We want to see the ball do the talking. If our other two panelists come, well, we still take them, but time is fast spent now. We are moving on to our second pillar that talks about economic management. And on our economic management, we'll talk about fiscal management, including budget, managing the public finance. We'll talk about government investment. We'll look at job, private sector, and we'll look at salary and incentives for government workers. Then we'll place particular emphasis on the prices of basic social services, petroleum, and cost of living. These are the issues Liberian will focus on. Gentlemen, you already have these issues. Let's move on to economic management, and we'll start with Jacob Jala on this one. Jacob, economic management, anything particular you want to focus on? 6 minutes.
Yes, I will just speak boom with the budget process. I think procedurally there's been quite an extensive delay with the entire budget process. I mean, maybe fairly so. I mean, we had the finance minister. We have a new finance minister. There was change of leadership at the Ministry of Finance, so that may have contributed to delays along these lines. But in terms of the core matter of the structure of the budget, is a key fiscal instrument, yes. But again, come back to the structure of the budget and the way we align our spending program, our investment priorities on the edges of the budget. We have been moving the budget through different cycles over the period. This one, I don't think is anything any profoundly different from the culture in the past. I mean, I was looking at for example, the budget fact sheet. Around 42.3% of the budget goes to salary compensation for the public bureaucracy. I think around 17% for goods and services. You already have crossed over 50% of the budget just investing in. I would not even call it an investment. I would just call it's a recurrent expenditure in servicing the public machinery, right? So we don't have enough rigor room in the budget for serious transformative investment in sectors that have great potential to turn around the economy and set the economy on the path of prosperity. So if we want to build a successful country, we want to build a country in a new age that's able to deliver economic prosperity, there are certain key sectors that we must invest public resources. Road infrastructure, for example, electricity infrastructure, for example, ports, sea and airports, for example, these are clear sector. Agriculture transformation. These are sectors with the most potential to turn around the fortune of the economy. And if we do not have enough revenue room. We don't have enough spending room within the budget process to invest in these sectors that I refer to in the past as public, like PSIP, public sector investment in these areas. I don't see how much progress we can make as a country, and that is the reason why we've not been able to turn around the future of this economy over close to 20 years now. We still have massive unemployment or underemployment. We don't have agriculture transformation. Agriculture has the greatest potential to create jobs in the Liberian economy because we are agrarian in nature and we have vast amount of arable land, but we've not been able to perform the magic required to transform agriculture, to provide expansion in agribusiness, and to really provide a job for young people. And I think the way our budget is structured, we don't have we've not been able to free up enough cash, enough revenue, enough resources to invest in this sector. We have close to 60% of the budget already going in servicing a rather inefficient public bureaucracy. I'll put it at that. I think we're up to around 70,000 public sector workers. Most of the agencies are not efficient enough to provide value for money, and therefore they're just sucking vast quantities of resources when we're not seeing the productivity coming from this institution. What do we need to do in terms of public sector reform so that we're able to free out cash and resources to invest in the right sector, roads, energy, infrastructure, to really expand the future of this country and expand the economy so that most people get jobs and so forth. So I think fundamentally, profoundly, the structure of our budget process is counterproductive. It's not able to deliver the level of transformation we need, both in the short term and in the long term. So we keep shooting ourselves in the stomach in terms of the way we structure our public finance. The next thing I would say is that it's not only about reworking and freeing up cash in the existing structure of our budget process, but it's also expanding revenue. I think the current revenue projection is around $700 and something million. If we want to do serious development here, we have to be running into billions in terms of expanding our revenue potential. There has been a domestic revenue plan under the previous government. A lot of technical guys work on that. Has it been rolled out? Are we expanding our revenue potential? Are we reaching billions? Are we raising the level of resources required to really transform the future of this country? I don't think much work has been done. I mean, a lot of people work research, but I'm talking about moving matters on the ground in terms of moving to the realms of practicalities and really delivering and raising our revenue potential.
Okay, so your time is over, but I will give you additional 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, I want you to focus on prices of basic commodity, food, petroleum products, and cost of living. You think the government... what's your perspective?
Yeah. So my final one on the whole budget process is that that's what I expect from Gafuan. I expect him to do something radically transformative across the budget process, not something repetitive. There's been a lot of repetition. Oh, budget come this year, we'll pass the budget here and there. We want to see actions on the ground, and I think I want to see that. I want to see like an industrial plan for the finance minister. I want to see these strategies that will really unlock the potential of the Liberian economy. I have not seen that yet, and I think that for me is a weakness in terms of how we proceed on these matters. In terms of prices, cost of living matter, I think we've been seeing a lot of announcements coming from LPRC over the period in terms of adjustment in petroleum prices. I think the price of petroleum products have been stable for a good while, at least over the period of 1 year. And I think there may be factors outside of Liberia, exogenous, that may be responsible for that, but probably there are also maybe reforms, administrative reforms at LPRC that has contributed towards stabilization and I would say reduction in the price of petroleum product on the market. You know that petroleum has enormous ripple over effect on other sectors of the economy. Energy prices go down, petroleum prices go down. That has a way of manifesting in terms of increase in purchasing power of citizens, because petroleum is a profound indicator for all other factor in terms of cost of living. So that's a good one, because transportation prices tend to go down, the cost of business doing business tend to go down. People are able to move around along the country. So that is a positive. There I will point to.
Okay, Jacob. We will hold you there. Okay. Let's come to 1-2 for your first 6 minutes on economic management. You have the issues before you, but before we go there, in your opening or at some point you said the current budget debate process is a partisan budget debate. What were you talking about?
So this is exactly what is concerning about the budget debate, Clarence. That's a very good question. What we have when it comes to accountability process and oversight responsibility in our country, that has to be channeled through a robust, independent, branches of government. Our constitution provides that the separation of power, which the framers intelligently place, provide each branches of government to be a watchdog and create fair and accountable process to ensure that the executive don't have that independent power to do exactly what they want. The interest of the executive in this entire fight to get the current speaker out is to ensure that they control the legislature. And this is evidenced by what we're seeing on the Capitol. The current issue is still ongoing. There is division. Instead of the executive creating reconciliation process, they allow in their perception majority bloc to have copy of the budget, invite members of the executive, including the Minister of Finance, to sit in the presence of the embattled majority blocs who are refusing to be under the gabble of their legitimate speaker and discuss our financial budget process in our country. This is concerning. This does not create accountability process. This does not even follow the rule-based order in our country.
Even in that room, you have some of your partisans there debating that very budget. Even though you've suspended some of them, but you have some CDC lawmakers there.
These are not partisans. These are people who unilaterally agreed together to form a majority bloc. In that instance, they basically agreed as a grouping. They don't disagree in that place. They agreed, and this is why they decided to not be on a legitimate speaker gavel. What we're seeing here today is a travesty in our country. Is one of the biggest ever shames that we're not talking about. The fact that our budget is being passed without any legitimate oversight is concerning for this country.
Okay,
and the president has to put the foot on the ground and stop gerrymandering the entire situation. In fact, yesterday, the president issued on the executive mansion referring to Representative Richard Kuhn as the legitimate speaker. This is concerning because the Supreme Court did not provide any clarification that Richard Kuhn is the speaker. In fact, the process that brought Speaker Kuhn to the current state was a local demons process that did not follow any constitution. It did not follow any process.
Can I say something?
So okay, let me let you say something. Yeah. I was just asking him as a follow up, but now you can go to your original 6 minutes.
Let me go back to my original 6 minutes.
Economic management. Jacob, you will come there.
Let me go back to my original 6 minutes. Clarence.
Yeah.
What is interesting to note here, and I like to start providing international report. And I'm sure we've read the U.S. State Department 2024 Fiscal Transparency Report. The Fiscal Transparency Report provided this kind of outcome for the government. They said the GSE, had adequate power to obtain, timely and direct access to the annual budget. But they provided a report saying that government maintained off-budget account not subject to audit or oversight. Extremely concerning. This is not under President. We have this 2024 report is in the timeline of 1 year under President Barker. The next aspect says that government did not even disclose earning from state-owned enterprise. GSE did not meet international standard of independence. The government did not make an active budget publicly available in reasonable period. Information on debt wasn't widely or easily accessible to the public. Report on corruption and inconsistent application of regulations in awarding natural resource contract is also concerning. In fact, this report came from the U.S. State
Maybe you will send me a link later. Yeah,
it's out there. I will send you a link. It's it's out there and as certified as possible. Okay. In fact, Julius wrote about this also as well.
Okay. So I'll ask Julius. Yeah.
So the U.S. State Department is providing this on our fiscal process. In fact, to carry it further, the governor of Liberia, the Millennium Compact Challenge. Previously, under President, we had 2023. The government had 14 out of 20 indicators that passed the threshold. The current government have 11 indicators out of 20, within the threshold, which is a massive decline on the current government. If you achieve 14 and you have 11, that's massive decline. But what is interesting, this very issue of fiscal accountability is also concerning in the very report that the government did not reach a threshold of fiscal accountability as a government, even in terms of the budget, management process. after this entire process, which is in few days, the budget, the Ministry of Finance will pass out the budget after having a control sitting that has no independent regulatory, legislative oversight. We'll see a budget that has no place in the part for civil servants. Civil servants in our country today, you spoke about salary, still earn $150. The LTA where we protested, the generator of commissioner LTA earned 3,500 plus.
The government says beginning January, as of the execution of the budget, they will add something up to nurses, police officers, and other security people.
As we speak, Clarence, the nurses and doctors were protesting yesterday. 4 months of staff payments haven't been paid by this very government. It's very concerning. There have been teachers across our country, even in rural area, are putting down their chalk because they are not being paid in public schools. If I were on the air recently when you announced that the Catholic School Association were also, concerned about, teacher arrears and stuff. This has to change. Our education sector...
Except that the Catholic schools are independent schools, private, they are not paid by government.
Government provides subsidies to independent school as well.
I don't think so in this case. I don't think they're providing... I don't think the government provides subsidies to Catholic schools. I don't think so.
It's not Catholic school. Government provides subsidy to private schools.
Okay, we'll check it up and see which ones of the private schools. But I was referencing Catholic because you were talking about the scenario. Yep, go ahead.
So... Jacob spoke about the issue of energy. I agree with you. Energy is very important for any government. But energy, how many Liberians have cars in this country? People are concerned about unemployment. Government have to create solutions for unemployment. Unemployment has skyrocketed to almost 96% in this country. Youth unemployment have not even reduced under this government.
What's the basis of that statistics?
The basis of statistics,
the 96%.
Maybe it might be the basis of statistics were flowing directly from the Ministry of Labor. I'll check that out. I'll put myself on the account.
I think underemployment.
But it's okay, Jacob, just protect him. Yeah, go ahead.
So the reality here is that there must be solution in public sector to reduce unemployment. Government have that legitimate authority to do so. The Ministry of Youth and Sport must create avenues for that. In our education sector, we haven't seen expansion. The government criticized the free tuition policy and said that it did not provide quality of education in our sector. Yesterday or 2 days ago, the Student Unification Party issued a protest on their campus, not a protest, but a national press conference where they call out this very government, for massive corruption, for not ensuring innovation in the education sector, and completely abandoning the University of Liberia.
You want to talk a little bit about cost of living and prices of basic commodities? Has the government done anything? What's your perspective? Petroleum products, the rise, these are the bread and butter issues Liberians will talk about daily.
If the government came on the avenue and campaign of ensuring that civil servants will be a priority, and they still earn $150, commissioners in our country earn 3,000 plus for just like gasoline, not their salary, then cost of living will exacerbate in a space where the actual people and the masses and the general population will not have the access to opportunities. So cost of living under this government have seen no solution change. Capital per income still remains as it is, or much less even declining. What is also very important is that the education sector has not expanded in any way possible. And I'll say that because the government just a few days ago, said they are issuing doctoral program at the University of Liberia. That also another political introduction.
Okay, we'll hold you there, Wanto. Your time is over. But I just wanted to say something. I don't like to say correct. I just wanted to correct you. I just want to say something. The people who were protesting were actually medical students. And not doctors and nurses. They were actually medical students.
Maybe I'm wrong. Medical students from the Tuglati school, which was doctors and pharmacy students.
Okay. Jacob, you said you wanted to respond or say something to something he said.
No.
Then we can go ahead.
I think about the legislative saga, what has been going on there. I think he made a point about almost like Kunz was smuggled in Nicodemusly also as speaker and all of that. Now, I don't want to go into the legislative battle between people, but I just wanted to say that, what is transpiring at the legislature, as ugly as it may seem from the perspective of a neutral, but I just think that, legislators, don't they have the right to make a decision about who provide leadership for them? Because looking at everything that has happened at the legislature, I just believe that Speaker Kofa has lost legitimacy. I dare to say that.
You think he has lost?
I think so. Whether he has the law on his side is another question. He possibly might have the law on his side, but in terms of legitimacy, in terms of carrying the right to provide leadership in the legislature, I think the majority of his colleagues have said they don't enjoy his leadership anymore. They don't want him as their leader, and therefore I think the most honorable thing for me, if I were in that case, I would resign, because the Senate have said, I'm sorry, we don't think we can work with you. The executive mansion through the office of the Minister of Justice have said similar thing to the same line. His colleagues, over 40 of them. So why is he still holding on?
Some Liberians and people that want to think that the Supreme Court ruling was in Fonati's favor, and so the others should have gone back under his gavel.
The Supreme Court ruling ended up in a scoreless draw. We don't know who won the case at the Supreme Court. But on the question of legitimacy, on the question of, not on the part of the law, but on the legislative representation on behalf of his county, nobody should and can deny him of that. But in terms of providing leadership among equal, if your colleagues come up and say, look, we're sorry, we don't think you can provide leadership, over 40 of them, I don't think it's healthy enough to hang on or to hold on in such leadership. It's almost like, democratic system like this, right? Clarence, at any point in time, in any democracy, for example, even in the case of Liberia, for example, if 1 million Liberians come on the street today and say we don't want a Liberian president, even if that president still have a 5-6 years presidential tenure, the legitimacy of that president would have been significantly eroded. Because that is within the context of democracy. People are voting with their feet. So as we see now the legislature, I think lawmakers have voted with their feet. They've moved on. The Senate, and then I think somebody in the political realm have to call Mr. Fonatiko and say, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, can you please resign? And if the CDC has not mustered the courage to do that, if the president has not mustered the courage, I think Mr. Kofa White should do that. She should say, look, I'm sorry, we have to move on with our life. We've had too much Rick Maru and Hula Balo and Nye in the Liberian term. We'd rather get on with our life.
He said he's not stepping down because the process is unconstitutional. His colleagues did not follow the removal process.
I don't think he has enough legitimate energy right now. I don't think he has enough stock in his favor, legitimate. How is he going to provide leadership and legislature or 40% moving on? The Senate have said this, they're exactly moving on. I think the thing has to be resolved in that matter. I think he has to resign, and then that's
thank you, Jacob. Jacob Jala. At this point, we have two panelists here. Jacob Jala. We're not accepting any other person because of the time. Jacob Jala. You want to say something? 1 minute. 1 minute. Then we'll go to our next.
Again, some people are misquoting what I said. I didn't say U.S. State Department report. I said 2024 Fiscal Transparency Report from the State Department.
Fiscal Transparency Report.
So you can check that.
It is different from the State Department report.
Yeah, you can check that out. So I know our society is extremely gullible, and this is why we are here to provide this information.
Okay. Jacob Jala is here, and Tier 1-2 is here from the CDC. Jacob Jala is a non-party man at this stage. I want to Kiatama to be here. Next time I'll fix it up. I wish I could. Next time I'll fix it. I'll bring somebody from Unity Party, saying I always bring in 1-2, and then we can move on. Gentlemen, let's move on to economic infrastructure. On economic infrastructure, I structured the topic in a way that I want us to focus on roads, energy in this category, electricity. I want us to talk about water and sanitation, telecommunication, and transport services. 1-2. Joseph Boakai, 1 year on Joseph Boakai in the country. These things. What's your perspective? 6 minutes.
So in the space of, and this is also very important, I'd like to point out also exactly as possible to the rescue manifesto, because these are policy prescriptions that the very government campaign on for governance. In fact, the president was heard saying that he will ensure that no car will be stuck within the space of, I think he provided a very minimal time compared to 1 year. In fact, during the timeline that we had, even the ministry agency cars were stuck on the roads. What we're seeing over time is that the government infrastructure is extremely poor, because most of the projects that the government is enacting, these are projects that have been instituted by the previous government. For instance, recently, what is also very concerning is that the very thing that this government criticizes in public projects are being used as as an illustration of to some extent getting some political relevance. Few days ago, there was a reconstruction of a hospital. We saw that the beddings, even the beddings in the hospital, had the first little picture there referring to us as a chief of our maternal fight. Maternal mortality in this country cannot be, you cannot achieve maternal mortality or minimize it through bare sheets or stuff. It's complete hypocrisy in itself. The very thing that this government criticizes is exactly what's being practiced. Another aspect is widespread corruption, even in infrastructure development. The Ministry of Public Work was called before the legislature, asking how 22 million of our budget was spent on road construction. He definitely said before the house that there were mismanagement, a clear illustration of poor governance outcome in this very government with public funds, no accountability process with that. In fact, we up to now we still don't have any information on how these entire projects were being done. To achieve infrastructure in our country, we have to ensure that our budget goes directly to that. State-owned enterprise in our country currently has a very huge part of our salary expenditure in the very budget being debated by the House. Until we reduce salary incentives across all state-owned enterprise, including public sectors and public leaders, we will not be able to achieve any threshold of having funding that goes directly to infrastructure or development process. So I think again, the government is failing massively on development infrastructure. I'm yet to see a single infrastructure project that's being done by the government. Unlike some of those projects that were being criticized, like the recreation project that was built by President Weah. By this time, President Weah have already laid out construction for hospital, the military hospitals. By this time now, President Weah have already initiated project construction. Other hospital as well. All of these things were achieved within a space of 1 year. So what we definitely can be able to look out to is another field promise, another part of our country where we'll live in a space of 2 to 3 more years and having politicians being richer, no development, no infrastructure, and no opportunities. Right now, as we speak, the Morava City Corporation, if you enter the hall of the Morava City Corporation, there's no more theater currently with the Morava City Corporation. There was a circling information all on social media of how dilapidated the entire Morava City Corporation is. So even infrastructure projects in our country currently is not being managed properly by the very government. So what do we have in the space of time? In the space of time, we still see a government that campaign on specific promises that wouldn't achieve it in the timeline to come. We still haven't seen the accountability process in infrastructure process, especially in fairness. Road development is still far from being achieved. Most of the roads are still being constructed. The government currently is boasting of the Millennium Compact Challenge, which will provide infrastructure project. But what is interesting is the Millennium Compact Challenge that will probably be passed or be provided today came directly from the previous government, massive pass in their scorecard. In fact, the previous government have 14 out of 20 indicators on the Millennium Compact Challenge. The current government have 11 out of 20 indicators. That means under President Weah, before the electoral process, the groundwork was already laid out to provide $500 billion of $500 billion to this country. And we have to appreciate that, and we have to make that as a resounding clarification on the Millennium Compact Challenge. Just before the government provide cleavages to say, oh yeah, we achieved it in a space of time. There's concern on the accountability process, just as I stated with the Department of State report or public outcome transparency. If state enterprise cannot disclose specifically how spending is being done, you obviously cannot be able to account for how infrastructure project is being initiated in our country. If the government allowed nepotistic employment process in our Ministry of Finance and our controlled financial sector, there will be limited access to accountability, even in state enterprise. Currently, as we speak, let me just end on this.
Yeah, just end.
So currently, as we speak, the entire financial sector of our country is being controlled by local county. Very concerning. The Ministry of Finance, the Liberia Revenue Authority, the Central Bank of Liberia. this is extremely nepotistic in chief, and our president should not be, the leverage or protagonist of such, poor governing process that leave out accountability.
Okay, Jacob, 6 meaning. Economic infrastructure, roads, energy / electricity, water and sanitation, communication, transportation, and service.
Yeah, I will start on a positive note. So like yeah, my friend want to paint a very gloomy picture. So let me shine some light on the matter. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of water and sewer, for me, I was telling a friend that I think water and sewer, like bro, water and sewer, Mo Ali and his team there. If I'm naming like public official of the year, I think I would name the team. Mohamed Ali and his team at water and sewer as public officials of the. I think they in a way did something real profound. Over the period, they've been able to a greater degree restore water supply to Monrovia. Uh, a lot of people have been providing testimony of that. They now have access to water, for the first time over a decade plus. So I think that is a significant public infrastructure. Water supply, water is a vital resource, and I think achieving such a feat is something that we have to recognize. And I think that water and sewer struggle for a long time from bureaucratic paralysis. I mean, even under Mr. Weir, it was huge rubbish there. I mean, they were not able to do anything meaningful. There were a lot of administrative squabble between here. I mean, it was a profound mess at the time. And I think Ali and his team have done a great work in the face of very limited resources to be able to get the water infrastructure back going. There are still challenges. The infrastructure has aged significantly. I mean, I think they have major pipeline and stuff like that, so they have ruptured every now and then. But I think in the quality of communication from water and sewer has been top class, and they've been able to respond and try to restore the infrastructure over the past year. Again, in the face of real limited resources, because these infrastructure, water infrastructure, electricity infrastructure, these economic infrastructure are very, very expensive. They require significant investment in resources to get them going. I think if we were to invest additional resources there, we're able to improve the level of access to water, and then more people can get on the water line. In terms of roads, yes, I think the president committed that in the first 90 days, the government was going to make intervention on roads across the country so that businesses and agricultural activity can carry on. I think, to be fair, that was achieved. And I think there was a deliberate intervention across the country. I know that, not because somebody told me that, because I do a lot of movement across the country as an NGO worker and all of that. So I know that for real. I traveled in Nimba and I went to Lofa in that period, and I saw road work going on, and they were able to achieve that feat in that period. I mean, did the weather help in that process? Yes, it was dry season, so it's possible that they had the hand of God in that performance. Now, as we move to the rainy season, also to be fair, most of the roads began to collapse, especially after we had like 2 months of torrential rain. Liberia has enormous quantities of rain during those periods. I think we have one of the highest rainfall, in the region. So that has got enormous implication in the quality of the road during the rainy season. So we saw, to be fair, also a great deal of the roads collapsing in the southeast and other places. What is the government going to do now? We're in the dry time, and I've been seeing pictures of road work in Nimba County, in this Saclay Tapeta corridor. We see road work going on there. And I also know that there are also going to be progress and continuation of road work on the Lofa Highway. I don't know much about the Southeast yet. The Ministry of Public Works has to provide additional information in terms of what the interventions are on those roads within the Southeast. We have to be able to address our deficit in infrastructure if we really want to build a prosperous economy. And I think Joseph Boakai talked about roads a lot. We want to see the results now. We're in a dry time, and we're going into next year. I do not expect Mr. Boaka, I do not expect Joe Boaka to solve all of our infrastructure problems in 8 months from January to now. That would be unfair. It's not possible, to do that. He needs time to be able to mobilize the resources to invest in, because infrastructure development and transfer is expensive. It's capital intensive. He needs millions and millions of dollars. And so we have to be fair to him. We have to give him an opportunity to mobilize the resources and make the investment he needs to make to transform our energy and roads and ports and our economic infrastructure. Well, the red yellow machine saga, I think the government dropped the ball on that. There was a lot of public relation hype on the matter, and only for news around it to disappear, like a soap bubble. I don't think they were able to manage that effectively. I don't know whether things have been worked out in the background and will be the public will be the matter will be reintroduced to the public in the coming months. I don't know, but I think that for me was a blind spot in a period. NNJ, we still have enormous deficit in electricity supply. LEC is as irregular as anything else during dry time. I've spoken with a few technical people. They've told me that even this dry season again, LEC will not be able to meet the supply requirement for the population. When are we really going to solve this LEC thing once and for all? Maybe it's a long-term strategy. Maybe we need a big investment on new hydro. I'm reading the LEC website. They're talking about building maybe a new hydroelectric plant around 150 to 200 megawatts in the coming years. They're talking about solution with solar and renewable energy. We need a solution. Maybe the solution will not come as quickly as possible, but who cares? We want solution, and I think that's why Liberian voted for Joseph Boaka. He has to perform the magic. If it is a magic, we need solution on electricity, because businesses are suffering. The cost of electricity is still high. We still have very irregular supply of electricity, mainly in the dry time, and businesses have it's challenging businesses' bottom line when it comes to private sector access to electricity. So maybe that's I can stop there for now.
Jacob, let's stop there. Wanto, you want to say something?
Yeah, a little clarification. So what is important to note here is that all road construction currently under this government was secured under the CDC-led government by the African Development Bank and the World Bank. Even electricity had 10-year financing plan directly from the World Bank as well.
All roads?
Yeah, currently being instituted.
All the roads?
Yeah. There were projects.
Sure
there were projects. There were two financing agreements that came outside of the road. Which was
maybe
the recent,
if people from public were listening, maybe they'll call.
Yeah,
but the last time I had a public work minister here, and he said most of the roads, the plan for most of the roads were inherited by Josh Weah. Some were done, some did not, and then Unity Party came again and will continue what they started. So I'm just
that's wrong.
But if you say all the roads at the moment,
the two financing agreements that have been done by the government have not been instituted, which is the extended credit facility by the IMF and the current MCC compact, of which they were announced today. That also will provide credit to President Weah as well. Government he illustratively led the groundbreaking ceremony for the MCC.
Okay,
but
let him conclude.
The African Development, these are public source information. I'll share them with you. The African Development Bank and the World Bank initiated 10 years financing plan for construction. And those plans are still ongoing, and the roads were being constructed even during the electoral process.
10 years for construction of roads.
10 years electricity plan.
And
the construction also were ongoing during the electoral process. I agree with Jacob's point on the Liberal Water and Sewer Corporation. I think Buhari have done a very great job, but I disagree slightly on the foundational argument. I think there were foundations laid out. But kudos to Buhari. He's done well with the Liberal Water and Sewer.
Jacob, you wanted to comment?
No, I just want to make a quick fire point about the for some of the MCC, right? I mean, yes, true. Yes, I spent some time around the Minister of Finance, Minister Twe, and I saw the level of work that was done in trying to get the MCC thing going. Fact. Another fact is that the MCC actually started under President Salif, and that was the Unity Party government, and we were able to secure the compact, the investment in the hydro. I think it was $200 million. Our Minister Connor worked on that, and I think probably Minister Kafan did some work on that. So that, to be factually correct, yes, you can give some credit, but if you want to go, you have to keep going. We can't stop to the CDC. We have to go all the way back to President Sirleaf and the compact. And I think, it's not really about this person takes responsibility, this person takes. We want to see those investments.
Is the Chikisu Patrick rule a brand new rule under this government, or it was inherited? Maybe I need to fact check that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think a lot of rules, for example, the rules, public works, they spend some money, and not all of the rules.
Okay, gentlemen, let me ask you this one, and we will leave the last portion that has to do with communication. We'll leave it out, and then I will ask you, and then when you are through, then we'll play our fact check segment for the day before we open the telephone lines.
Are you going to fact check me?
No. I think the fact check was about some of the issues yesterday, or we normally have Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays fact check segment. Wento, in the midst of everything we do in Liberia, do you see any reason why we should at any point in time resort to violence? This morning, portion of our Capitol building gutter fire is off. Do we need to reach anywhere where we think violence is supposed to be the only way out of anything? Or because maybe we are divided politically and what have you? 2 minutes on that.
Great. Never, ever. And I think that's what I started with my point. My support for CDC is not beyond my patriotism for Liberia. I think our dark days should remind us that absolutely no political candidate, no political party, no ideology is bigger than ensuring that we don't return to our dark days. Almost 250,000 plus people in this country died because of tribal conflict, which is extremely brutal in all manners. It took about 180,000, according to the Army report, 180,000 peacekeepers in Liberia to ensure that there is stability and peace. Billions of dollars were spent to ensure that we achieved that. Today, we are having one of the most thriving democracy in Africa, ensuring that there is respect for rule of orders and so forth. We have to continue that. Today, I call on everyone else, even seditionists, non-seditionists, apolitical Liberians, to ensure that our peace become a paramount part of our conversation.